Welcome back to my KEEPUP channel. Just Stop Oil co-founder Roger Hallam is jailed for 5 years and 4 other activists for 4 years over plots to block the M25 motorway that saw over 50,000 hours of vehicle delay. 5 Just Stop Oil protesters, including one of its co-founders, have been jailed for conspiring to organize protests that blocked the M25 motorway. Roger Hallam, an environmental activist who was one of the founding members of the group, agreed to causing disruption to traffic by having protesters climb onto gantries over the motorway for 4 successive days in November 2022. The 58-year-old was joined by Daniel Shaw, 38, Louise Lancaster, 58, Lucia Whitaker de Abreu, 35, and Cressida Gethin, 22, as they were all sentenced at Southwark Crown Court on Thursday. Hallam was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, while the remaining 4 defendants were each handed 4 years imprisonment. Prosecutors alleged the protests, which saw 45 people climb up the gantries, led to an economic cost of at least £765,000, while the cost to the Metropolitan Police was more than £1.1 million. They also allegedly caused more than 50,000 hours of vehicle delay, affecting more than 700,000 vehicles, and left the M25 compromised for more than 120 hours. Prosecutor Jocelyn Ledward KC told the court that a police officer suffered a concussion and bruising after being knocked off his motorbike in traffic caused by one of the protests on November 9, 2022. All 5 defendants joined a Zoom call on November 2, 2022, in which discussions were held about the planned protests, based off what was said expressly and what could be inferred, and were aiming to recruit others for the protests on the call, Ms. Ledward told the court. A journalist from the Sun newspaper, who had joined the call pretending to be interested in the protest, managed to record some of it and passed the recordings on to the police. Judge Christopher Heher said the Zoom call showed how intricately planned the disruption was and the sophistication involved, and was compelling evidence of the existence of a conspiracy. There was extensive organization and planning for the protests, and each defendant had a significant role in the conspiracy, Ms. Ledward said. The defendants were convicted by a jury of conspiracy intentionally to cause a public nuisance, contrary to Section 78 of the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Act 2022 and Section 1 of the Criminal Law Act 1977, on July 11. The protesters, referred to as the Whole Truth 5 by Just Stop Oil on social media, spoke to confirm their names in court and shouted "We love you" from the dock immediately after the sentences were passed down. Breaking, the Whole Truth 5 arrive at Southwark Crown Court. Today, Lou, Cressy, Lucia, Roger and Daniel will be sentenced by Judge Heher, and face up to 10 years in prison. A crowd of supporters gathered to welcome them as they were driven from prison. Judge Heher said, "The plain fact is that each of you some time ago has crossed the line from concerned campaigner to fanatic. You have appointed yourselves as sole arbiters of what should be done about climate change." Addressing Hallam, the judge said, "You are the theoretician, the ideas man. In my judgment you sit at the very highest level of the conspiracy." The judge told the court 11 protesters were arrested on suspicion of contempt outside the court during the case's trial on July 2, but the court had discontinued its proceedings against them on July 11 after he became concerned about their position. TV naturalist and Just Stop Oil supporter Chris Packham was outside the courthouse. Speaking to protesters he said, "At this point I feel physically sick, and I don't think I've ever felt that in this way ever before. I've just watched what can only be described as judicial thuggery, a total disregard for any mitigation circumstances when it came to sentencing. Disproportionately high sentences given to peaceful climate protesters in a world which is on fire. In a world which is burning and flooding. In a world in the midst of a biodiversity crisis." The 63-year-old added, "It's terrifying that this is happening in the UK. We must do everything we can to push back for our right to peaceful protest. We must be clear, today it's about the climate, tomorrow it could be about something else. This is a terrifying, terrifying result today. I've been in those delays caused by Just Stop Oil protesters. I've suffered those inconveniences, not to the same degree that I've missed a funeral or missed a hospital appointment or anything of that level. But can I just say that at this point, we need to look at the bigger picture on a global scale. Think about our entire species. Turn on your social media this evening, look at the flooding, look at the fires, look at people's homes and livelihoods being destroyed all over the world. That's coming here. Football didn't come home, but climate breakdown will. There have been no protests on the M25 since November 2022. Source: dailymail.co.uk. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.